Hello. I haven't done anything on this channel in a long time. And this really isn't too much to be invested in. This is just a video I'm making because I love Shay. And I wanted to say that in such a way that she could see me as I say it. And part of this and my loving of Shay is, she has said she likes listening to me talk about things sometimes. So there is something that I wanted to talk about. It's important to me. So I wanted to lay some basics of the introduction of it, because it's something that I've been working on for a long time. I overcomplicated it, and I'm learning how to simplify it, to reduce it to something practical and useful. By the way, I've lost my voice recently due to laryngitis. Hopefully, I can communicate. Let's see. So let me give a little bit of context to this. I was recently asked about self-care practices that I do. I was asked this in a group therapeutic setting. I am studying to be a licensed counselor, therapist in the state of California. And I am getting involved. I'm not yet a graduate student, but I'm becoming involved with the graduate program for my undergraduate position because, that's what I want to do with my life, so why not? And so in this group setting, this group therapy setting, I was asked, about my self-care practices. And being a person who overcomplicates things, it adds a lot of words to stuff that doesn't need to be added a lot of words to, because ironically, to make language very complex and flowery makes it harder to hear and to relate to and to find accessible, particularly for younger people, such as are my peers at the school in which I am currently enrolled. Yes, they're in college, but there's a niche technicality to jargon. Niche technicality to jargon. Complex words are harder to access, broadly speaking. And so there's this fresh challenge because I have all these words to talk about this simple, embodied practice. And I've been thinking, because the next time I go, I will be just explaining to them what I do, And so this is it. This is what I came up with. Let's get rid of all the fancy stuff. And just look at this as this is about mental health. It's about self-love. And it's about putting tools into people's hands they can float with and use for the purposes of growth. So it's about flowing and growing. There are two other elements, structure and stress. But we worry about structure and about stress after our flow is guiding us to grow. And where and when and how and why. And for who? Me and you. So this is the idea. I start out my morning, I call it my foundations, right? Life is a home for the being, right? My life is a home for my being. And I have to participate in the integrity of this home. So I have to lay foundations for my own health, physically and mentally. And I need to make sure these foundations are secure and are worthy of inhabitation. So I call it the elemental foundation. It's so simple, right? We got water, we got fire, we got earth, we got air, we got the fifth element, spirit, right? Creative intelligence. And so, yeah, it's metaphorical, but it's also pretty literal. So I'll start my day out with my elemental foundations, drinking a bottle of water, right? I should probably drink 2 or 3 of these a day, so might as well knock one of them out early. And so that's part, call it a 5-minute, maybe a 10, maybe a 15-minute meditational practice in which I'm turning off my thought. The very first thing I want to do is learn how to channel the silence. I want to learn how to turn on the off switch. Or rather, just turn off all that extra voicey, talky in my head and just be. And I find this is aided by doing. Right? Being is aided by doing. What do you know? And so things I'll do is I'll drink water. And I'll breathe. And there is a dietary element involved with health, right? This is the earth. And so what I don't need to do is eat during this, but rather the eating is something that's just done. And so if I am eating a breakfast, I can eat it before or I can eat it after. It's all the same foundations, right? But if I am eating a breakfast, I'm eating it in the morning, and it's part of my foundations. But it's got to be a diet that is tailored to my health. I like to eat an apple, maybe a couple eggs. That's a breakfast for me. And it's a good breakfast because I also like to intermittently fast. That means I just don't eat till like afternoon a lot of days. But, again, I want to stress that what's important is the laying of the patterns as a foundation. You don't need to eat during this period of meditation, but it's understood that that diet, that's part of your foundations, and you are patternistically just doing it every day, right? You're figuring out how to work it in there as just your basic, activation routine. That brings us to the fire. So fire is in the movement, right? So my body is moving, my heart rate may escalate the more that I move and the more that I breathe. I can also use my breath to de-escalate the fire, right? I can right? It's called box breathing. It's just you have an equivalent draw in, hold for the same amount, blow out for the same amount, leave out for the same amount, return. That's just a method. There's other ways to to down-regulate your emotions and your heartbeat. But the breath can bring you up, bring you down, right? And this is the point. But you put it in tandem with the fire, with that motion, right? With that heartbeat. And so as I'm breathing, I start moving. Okay. Oh, wait, I found a tension in my body. And remember, I'm not thinking words. I'm paying attention to the tensions in my body. And this is a communication with the self, which doesn't require words all of the time. So as I'm doing this, moving, breathing, I can be standing up, I could be sitting down, I can be laying down. It's all kind of up in the air. You just kind of do as you do, right? But there's a flow. That's the point. That's the main point, is that there's a flow that's happening, is that it's not prescripted, it's something that's live. It's in the moment, and it's emerging from you. And you are getting past your inhibitions that might stop you from moving around kind of silly. Like, oh, maybe I just kind of want to wiggle. It doesn't really matter. I'm just doing my thing. Maybe sometimes I want to find that tension. I want to stretch to my full range of motion. Oh, wait. Okay. I'm feeling this tension in my spine because of this postural element. I am not holding a good posture. That's restricting my flow of motion. Ooh, wait, what'd the flow do? It led me to an opportunity for growth. Is that a mistake I was making? No. That was merely a growth opportunity, right? So part of this flow to grow process is letting the self move and flow until you find opportunities to grow. You learn something new. And what is this growth opportunity? Well, the growth opportunity is something that makes the flow easier, more fluid, right? Oh, I found this about my spine and my posture. Not a mistake. Don't feel bad. Feel good. I found an opportunity for growth. And my flow led me right to it. And not just led me right to it, but it's leading me through it. Because as I navigate through it, I'm seeing how my flow is more structured, is more capable of regulation, right? More capable of enactment and participation, and is being expressive and open and more potentially authentically me. The flow led to the grow, and the grow opened the flow. And the more flow I got, the more smooth it is, the more access to growth opportunities that I have. And so it's just a simple relationship of just starting out my day with these basic elements, right? Water, diet, breath, motion. And in motion, creative intelligence. Letting the flow guide me to the grow, letting the grow open the flow, feedback, boom. This develops structure in one's life, right? This develops, reveals structure and develops structure and makes one more capable of sustaining systemic stress, such as is felt when one is under pressure, when one is under resistance, right? That's when we feel bad a lot of the times. If the goal is to love oneself while growing healthily, then I find this to be a very effective tool. So there's more to this though, right? Let's take this a step further. This is my real practice. Like the foundations are there to lay the groundwork, to build the practices off of. So as I get my flow and my grow going, so I know my structure and I can sustain the stress of just living, and to do so feeling good about myself, self-loving, right? There's more to being than being alone. Right? Our being is constituted of our relationships. It's like, I love Shay very much. And I fucking miss her so much. I wish I could fucking hug her and see her again. And I will. Just a matter of time. Anyway. So my practice here is about, okay, so flow is also, flowing and growing is part of being, part of growing, part of doing. Well, obviously flowing and growing is part of growing. It's part of being and doing. Let's see. Then, it's about relationships. And not just relationships with ourselves, that's what we started with, but, relationships with our environment. And our environment is made up of others. And so others are other beings in the sense that I am describing myself, other living beings that I have relationships with, but it's also inanimate beings. And what I've learned is that there's a lot of the basics of relationship that I can learn from interacting with simple tools, And so as I interact with a simple tool, it becomes like a fun activity of just like creative design, not going to someone else and like having them show me what to do with the thing, because that's not the point here. The point is this self-communication of like paying attention to what I can do and what's fun to do and how to differentiate and make it more complex, more simple, right? But find full ranges of motion to what one is doing and what one can learn about oneself as one does. And so this one in particular, like when I play with the stick, it's best if I'm standing up. Why? Because I got to wear braces every day of my life because my legs don't work. I've got a neurological condition. So I'm not a very coordinated person. Like I innately don't understand my own body mechanics. But I can learn them moving in relation to something that is showing me how to move with it, like how to dance with it. Like it's guiding me through the fluidity of its expression. How can I participate in its dance? And as I go, I open, I flow, I structure, I grow. This is the idea. And like this is the whammy. This is the point. This is like at the core of it, is that all of that, yeah, it's neat. It's a thing to do. It's important. It's foundational. But it's not the point. The point is that when you see the process of doing this with your body in a very immediate sense, just me here, I'm just practicing, I'm just learning how to pay attention in such a way that I can release tension, I can flow, I can grow, develop structure, sustain stress. I can do that with anything, right? That the mind is studying the body, but the mind can also study any other activity that one does in one's life at any given time using this frame of reference, using these simple tools. Can like say in one's relationship as a romantic partner. I can see how in that interpersonal dynamic that there's things are flowing constantly. It's rather a complex system of paying attention and responding and providing and enacting and being present and being supportive, right? That there's all of these areas that are constantly evolving, and I am showing up in a certain way that exhibits a structure and either alleviates the stress or provides the stress for someone else. And so I can start paying attention to how I show up in this circumstance and see the ways that myself wants to flow, but maybe I'm blocking myself. Maybe I've got a trauma deeply seated that's making it hard for me to express. Maybe they do. And maybe I am exaggerating their trauma, making it worse. Maybe I am helping the trauma. I don't know. But I can start paying attention and I can start to learn. I can see, maybe I haven't been showing up the best, but should I feel bad? Should they feel bad? We'll figure that out. Right now, it's more that I found an opportunity for growth. And if I want to stay in this relationship, ideally, we should not feel bad. We should feel good, right? We should feel happy and joyful with each other's company. Not to say there's not stress that enters into relationships. There is, but, perhaps the mark of love is one's ability to move through the stress without sacrificing the structure, right? With keeping that integrity alive. And part of being alive is the evolution of one's being, oneself. And what is evolution in terms of how we can do it? Well, it's flow, it's grow, it's structure, it's stress. Systems of selective pressure. Fancy words, but that's evolution. Yeah, you read the fancy words. No, the systems of selective pressures. It's about flow, it's about grow, it's about structure, it's about stress, and it's systemic. So that's it, It's like you learn it as a simple thing that makes you feel better and move better as an individual. And then you begin to expand it into simple tools. And then you learn, I can move this frame of reference from just my body into my body in relation to a tool and a context. And once I can do that, I can just keep doing it into other tools, other contexts, until I elevate it to the realm of interpersonal and intrapersonal, so with others or just with myself or all of that in tandem, and I can do it anywhere. And that really most of growth in life is just a matter of doing exactly that. So for me, it was just a very straightforward, hands-on method of learning this and of daily practice of it. And so I haven't learned it. It's not done. It's a life tool. It's a tool for life, right? It's something that is there to be the foundations for the home of the being and to be the infrastructure for the integrity of that home, to provide superstructure and architecture, and make the home not just aesthetically pleasing, but strong and warm and kind and loving. Thank you so much for your time and the experience. And I love you, Shay.